Now let's talk about some of these tech names. Knox Ridley is with us, portfolio manager, IO Fund. I'm glad you're with us because you had already spoken of a couple of names. You predicted that Facebook Meta platforms would be under some significant pressure and that Snap, on the other hand, would be a winner. What gave you the metrics to get ahead of these big market moves that we saw, in some cases 20% plus, to really know what's what?
Yeah, I mean, we've been tracking Facebook's development for years now. It seems that there's some confusion on their core business model still going on right now. And, we've been very clear at the IO Fund with our readers that the key to Facebook is Apple. And most people understand Facebook as an ad company. And they have 200 billion users. They monetize that data and do targeted ads, which is accurate. What most people don't realize is that the growth they saw to make them the powerhouse that they are really comes from the way that they've been able to gather off-platform data. Third-party data is what we call that.
Right.
Yeah, and so what ended up happening, how Apple plays into that, is they own the real estate for the most valuable third-party data out there, sure. iOS users, iPhone users. And so basically, Apple changed the landscape by altering IDFA. And what that is just a unique ID within your iPhone that allows advertisers to track your behavior. So Facebook combined all of that data with their Facebook data and just gave you the most robust, valuable data image of the consumer. And so Apple basically said, we're taking that away. Third-party data is no longer going to be a source of revenue for these companies. And we knew that it was going to be a big deal for Facebook. We just didn't know when it was going to happen, and it happened last week.
Absolutely, and they're investing a lot to move forward into the metaverse. It's my understanding they really won't see any gains or great news from the metaverse, not for a decade. And yes. What's interesting is what has been really great for Facebook, Meta, is now, to your point, sort of dissipating. And so that's why, I don't know, you tell me, because if you liked Facebook at 300 or 250, I mean, why aren't people jumping in and scooping it up at 225?
And that's probably the most important question that one could be answering who's an investor in Facebook right now. And the reason is because the story has materially changed. Everybody gets enamored with the cash flow and the balance sheet, but in the tech world, what matters more than anything is the product and the landscape. And the product that allowed Facebook to get that fantastic cash flow has been changed materially. Buried within their earnings call, it's there if you look, they said the changes to IDFA will remove about $10 billion in revenue. That's a big chunk of their business being changed. And so what we're betting on right now on buying this dip is, can they pivot into the metaverse? And the metaverse is it's a new place basically, but it's a nascent tech that is long ways away from being able to be monetized at that level. And more importantly, Facebook's history of pivoting is not that great. So we're not buying this dip on Facebook.
Okay, and there are people who are true believers in Zuckerberg and they want to wait and see, excuse me, and do want to get a part of it, but they are also waiting, is what we're seeing, because it's 217 now as we're speaking. Exactly. Snap did incredibly well. That has gained a great market share, particularly of the younger demographic. It has been bucking the trend in social media, saw the gains. You talked about that ahead of time. Is it Snap and others that you think could be winners? Is Snap still going to see some upside potential, do you believe?
Oh, yeah. We could easily see Snap becoming one of our bigger positions. And the thing is, how they're different than Facebook is because they don't monetize third-party data. So they weren't affected by IDFA. So when Facebook got hit, we were trying to figure out, is this an ad tech problem or is this a Facebook problem? And we believe, based off Google and Microsoft's reports, that this was a Facebook problem. And Snap was being mispriced. It was offering us a fantastic opportunity to capitalize on it. But the thing about Snap is that they are the avenue to millennials and Gen Z, which are in the demographic that's in prime spending right now. This is very valuable data to have. But to make it even more interesting with Snap is, in one of their prior reports, they consider themselves more of a camera company than a social media company. And understanding that is why we can see Snap being able to sustain 50% growth year over year going forward.
Yeah, understood. I mean, you know, the talk was that Meta could face 10 billion revenue hit because of this move and the privacy changes that we saw to Apple's iOS, as you were speaking about that. And so people really fully understand it impacts their ad targeting and also measuring. And so this is a big deal. It's great to chat with you. Knox Ridley, thank you, the IO Fund portfolio manager there. Thank you.